All right, this video focuses on using metric measurement to compare decimals and fractions in tenths and hundredths. So let's get started looking at example problem number 1. Express the shaded parts in decimal form, then compare the two lengths using greater than, less than, or equal to. So we have two really long rectangles and they're broken into segments to represent parts of a meter. And what I want you to notice is that they're almost like a square section. It looks like that is a tenth. And let me double check. So there's 1, 2, 3, I'll go down here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So those squares are tenths, and you'll notice that this top model has one area that's got a tenth that's broken up into 10 skinny little parts. Well, those are hundredths because there's 10 of those in 1/10, and if you had all of those in those skinny little rectangles, you would have hundredths. It would be filled up with 100 little skinny rectangles. So I'm going to erase that there. All right, well, this section here, that's 3/10. You could also say that it's that as a decimal. And then you have those skinny little lines down there. Let's see if I can figure out how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like there's 5. So I'm going to say this piece here is 5. Remember, these are hundredths. We would write it like this as a decimal. Now, if I want to put those together, it would be 35 hundredths. I'll write that over here. If I wanted to line those up and add them, it would look like this. And then you could put a 0 there because 3/10 is the same as 30 hundredths, and then you could add those. Don't forget that decimal there. And then down below, there's 4/10, or that's 4/10 like that. You could also say that's 40 hundredths. So those are equal to 40 hundredths. And which one's greater than or less than? Well, you can look at the visual, or you can write 40 hundredths is greater than 35 hundredths. Example problem number 2. What is the difference in the amount of water between graduated cylinder A and graduated cylinder E? So we have 6 graduated cylinders. It's all in decimals down below, but you'll notice some are in tenths and some are in hundredths. I'm going to quickly just rewrite these. Well, I really just need to look at A and E, so I don't have to rewrite all of them, I just have to look at those two. I can see that E has more water in it, so it's greater than A, and I notice down below it's 85 hundredths of a liter, and I notice graduated cylinder A is 7/10. We can rewrite that as 70 hundredths. They're the same thing. And that will make it easier for us to find the difference. So now it just becomes a subtraction problem. That was E. And I know that A has less water in it. I subtract. Don't forget the decimal. Don't forget that 0. So the difference is 15 hundredths. I'll write that over here. 15 hundredths of a liter is the difference. Awesome. Example problem 3. Examine the mass of each item as shown below on the 1 kilogram scales. Put an X over the items that are heavier than the avocado. So the avocado, I'll put an A below it or above it. This is the avocado, if you're not sure what an avocado looks like. And down below, everything's in decimal form. You'll notice some things are in tenths and some things are in hundredths. Well, I'm going to just make them all hundredths, just to make it easier. Okay, that's already in hundredths. The bananas are not, so I'm going to change to bananas to hundredths, and the grapes are already in hundredths. Now it's just easier just to compare things because to my eyes it just looks like 20, it looks like 12, it looks like 60, it looks like 61, and I don't actually accidentally make some simple mistakes and look at that 6 above and go, oh, that's just 6. No, that's 6/10 or 60 hundredths. And I don't want to make a mistake with the avocado thinking it's just 2. It's not 2, it's 2/10 or it's 20 hundredths. Now it makes things a little easier for me. And that's why I encourage you to have everything in the same unit. And in this case, I made everything in hundredths. So now I can just see which ones are, what are we looking for? The heavier ones. Be careful because it might be a different question in your assignment. So the heavier ones in the avocado. The apple's not heavier. It's 12 hundredths. The bananas are heavier, and so are the grapes. So I'm done. I believe I have one more problem to do. Example problem 4. Maya puts these groceries into a bag. The grocery items and their weights in kilograms are listed below. Which item weighs the most? What is the difference in weight between the loaf of bread and the bunch of bananas? Okay, so we have the bread is 28 hundredths, the bananas are 3/10, and the cheese, it's in fraction form, is 25 hundredths. Well, I am going to write them all in the same format, and I'm going to use decimal form and hundredths. The bread is already in decimal form and in hundredths. The bananas are in decimal form, but they're not in hundredths yet. And all you have to do, if it's in decimal form but it's in tenths and you want it in hundredths, is you just add a 0 like that. So I'm just going to write that up here. So that's the weight of the bananas in hundredths, decimal form. And then the cheese is in the fraction form, but I can just change that pretty simply to decimal form. And now it's just a lot easier to compare. Everything's in the same format, they're in decimal form, and they're in hundredths, same units. And what is the difference in weight between the loaf of bread and the bunch of bananas? Well, I don't even have to look at the cheese. They just want me to look at the loaf of bread and the bananas. Difference in weight, that's a subtraction problem. So I'm just going to do a little subtraction here on the side. And you can probably mentally do this subtraction problem. I'm going to have to borrow, or in class we said unbundle, because I can't do 0 minus 8. So now I borrowed from the 3, made that a 2, and brought 10 over. 10 minus 8 is 2, And then I go to the next place value, the tenths place, and 2 minus 2 is 0. Don't forget the decimal. Don't forget what's in that ones place. That's the difference right there is 2 hundredths. So the difference in weight is 2 hundredths. Of, what are we measuring in kilograms? That is kg. I hope this has been helpful to you. If you have any questions, please ask. Thanks.